From the NewsChannel 5 network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello everyone, I'm NewsChannel 5 political analyst Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. While Democrats in Washington try to figure out how to take advantage of their new control of the White House and both houses of Congress, here in Tennessee, Democrats are trying to regain relevance in this deep red Republican state. The person recently selected to take on that task is Hendrell Remus, the new chairman of the Tennessee Democratic Party. He's our guest on Inside Politics this week. Mr. Remus, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Pat, for having me.
Congratulations on your election. What's your first order of business as party chair?
Well, first, right now, I'm focused on making sure that, I'm building relationships with party stakeholders and allies across the state. For many of them, I'm a new face, and my focus and priorities are a bit different from past chairs. So these early introductions are very important. At the same time, I've begun assessing our staff and financial health to determine where, if any, immediate changes are needed before we dive into our strategic planning. There's a lot to be done, but those are some of my top priorities right now.
You're the first African American to be state chairman of either major party in Tennessee. How will that historic role that you're playing shape your work as the leader of the Democratic Party?
Well, I believe that representation matters. I believe that people should be able to look at our political parties and be proud of the diversity and inclusion that they encompass. But we know that hasn't always been the case. For far too long, far too many people have been shut out of the process when it comes to internal party decision making. So I hope that during my tenure, I'm able to inspire more people to get involved. But most importantly, growing up in poverty and working my way into the middle class, I believe lends me a unique perspective on the struggles of ordinary people as we begin to formulate our messaging and voter engagement strategies.
Given the key role that African Americans have played historically in the Democratic Party nationally and here in this state, is an election of a black chair for the party in Tennessee long overdue?
It's 2021, and I'm the first black party chair in the history of our state in 2021. Of course it's overdue. I'm honored and humbled to have been chosen to be the first black person to lead a state party in Tennessee, but I won't be the last. There are so many qualified black people on both sides of the aisle who can serve in the role of party chair. And if given the opportunity, I believe that they would do a great job. So yes, it's long overdue. And I think it's going to be very important moving forward that we reflect the big tent party that we proclaim to be.
You're a new face in Tennessee politics. What's your background and what got you interested in politics?
Well, one of the short answer is that, I was bitten by the Obama 08 bug and I never looked back. but it was knocking on those doors for President Obama in 2008, canvassing neighborhoods, that I realized that, the power of politics actually reside in the people who live in the communities where we work, where we live, where we go to school. And being able to mobilize and engage individuals and help to foster a better community and society for my neighbors and my friends and my family was a driving force for me.
I think I hear you saying that African American political power in Tennessee has not been fully utilized, or at least not utilized well. How will you seek to change that, say, the way Stacey Abrams has done down in Georgia?
Well, Georgia's got its own set of unique demographics. Tennessee's a little bit different. What we have to do is make sure that we're building stronger relationships with allied organizations, like whether it's down in Memphis, Up to Vote 901, or the Equity Alliance, and making sure that we're building the type of coalitions that can go out and really, truly rally African American voters around the causes and around candidates who will move the needle for everybody in the state to live a more prosperous and progressive life. So our focus is making sure that we're connecting with black voters, engaging black voters, registering more black voters, and then ultimately turning voters out on election day, early voting and on election day. But also at the same time, we have to make sure that we are protecting the rights of black and brown people to be able to vote. We're pushing back on voter suppression at every turn. So it's going to be important to look at what's been done in Georgia, but being able to shape our own blueprint at the same time, because we know that our demographics are a bit different here in Tennessee.
Marguerite Bradshaw was a new face in Tennessee politics. Back in 2020, she was the party nominee she's an African-American environmental activist. She was the party's nominee for the U.S. Senate. Unfortunately, like many Democratic candidates, she couldn't get above 35% in the election in November. What can you do differently in the next 4 years to have another senatorial election to run a more credible candidate, a more viable candidate against Marsha Blackburn, who'll be seeking re-election in 2024?
Well, first, Marsha Blackburn is one of the most extreme members of the United States Senate and one of the most detached from reality. Democrats have a message that can resonate with folks across Tennessee, but we need to meet people where they are and deliver it. If we're going to close that percentage gap, we have to maximize turnout in the urban core, where most of our Democratic voters are. And then we've got to compete in suburban areas more aggressively. And then at the same time, we've got to reduce the margins in rural counties across the state. So it's a multifaceted approach that we've got to take, but I think it's one with the right organizing and following the data will give us an opportunity and a shot at flipping some of these seats in the state.
You're also a millennial. I think you may be the first of that generation to head up a major party, at least the first for the Democrats. How do you see your role in changing the party and how it looks in terms of generations?
I've had a number of conversations with donors and party stakeholders, and that's been one of the things that they've been most thrilled about is me being a millennial. Look, millennials are growing into the largest voting bloc in the state. We have a grasp on the digital transition that has consumed modern politics. We're fascinated with the data that guides modern politics, but what I believe surprises people the most is that millennials actually don't mind listening, because we're always trying to figure out how to take traditional processes and practices and incorporate them into new digital formats. So, moving forward, that's going to be huge in how we operate. Even my office staff will reflect some changes in bringing more millennials to the table and implementing new practices that will help streamline what we're doing to organize and engage voters across the state.
Hendrell Remus is the new chairman of the Tennessee Democratic Party. He's our guest on Inside Politics. Back to continue our conversation after this break.